What's up, y'all? It's 10 at 3 time at Tennessee. How are you? Hope you're doing well here on this Thursday, February the 5th, 2026, here in a cold, I would say, a cold, gray Knoxville today. It's feeling a little Midwesternish feeling today. You know, Knoxville's got that. Sometimes, you know, you get that. You feel like you're in the Southeast. Sometimes you feel like you're a little closer to the Midwest, sometimes in the winter especially. And this is just one of those days where it's like, this just feels like it's a Midwestern kind of day is what it feels like. A little cold, little windy. Other than that, though, everything going all right. I hope everything is going well in your world. Hope you've had a good evening. Hope you got more sleep than I did last night. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. It's me and Daniel today. Daniel, what's going on back there, man?
Hey there, Wes. Just trying to stay dry and warm lately, really.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it was funny because I was just, you know, kind of this morning we were speaking with Josh Elander, Tennessee's baseball coach, and he talked about how when he was an assistant coach, like the weather app was not something he even really thought about because it's like the head coach or whatever tells everybody, here's when we're practicing, we're moving this up, we're doing this, yada, yada, we got to move this up an hour because weather. He's like, now that's probably my number one app. He's like, because you fire up that bad boy every day as the head baseball coach going, all right, what can we do today? When can we be outside? When can we not? Or, you know, especially in the preseason because you only get X amount of time in there and every day, every week. And you're thinking, well, if it's going to snow today, let's go ahead and do some indoor batting cage work. Or let's go ahead and push this back a day, and then we'll take today off, and then we'll go work tomorrow, right? So it's kind of with baseball and softball especially, you have to be very, very, very careful with these things. Even with Tennessee, where with baseball – they have they got the outdoor turf, right? They got the natural unnatural surface, right? And so that allows you really that's been a godsend for programs around the South, you know, this kind of, you know, northern tip of the Southeast over to the Midwest, up in the East Coast, certainly the Midwest. It's a lifesaver for those programs because that allows you to play home games early in the season because if not, you know, anytime the ground is frozen and then it's not, and then you get, you know, just water coming up all the time, and it's just gross. You can't play on the stuff. It's not safe. Plus, what kind of grass can you even have when it's been snowing? You know what I mean? Like it basically, the work that they have to do traditionally in places like in Knoxville to get a baseball field ready to go in February is, I mean, you talk about just a really, really, really hard task. So do I love baseball on artificial surfaces? Absolutely not. I do not. That's not. I think baseball, when in doubt, should be played on grass, certainly. I mean, I think all sports should, really. And if you talk to players and athletes, specifically, I would say at the football level, where, you know, we're talking both football, our football, and you know, what the world calls football, soccer, it's in their sports, especially with the knees and everything, it becomes a bit of a problem every day to play on those things and hurts more when you fall, and it's a little different. Now, in baseball, I would think it goes both ways because when you play on an artificial surface, you're not getting as many bad hops. I can tell you that because you don't have the moment where the ball's kind of, did it hit a weird spot in the grass, or, you know, did it go off the lip and then into the dirt and then the dirt back to the grass, and, you know, is it going to make the ball take a bad hop or spin funny? You don't get that on the fake stuff, but, you know, you also are still playing on stuff that hurts. And I don't care how often these guys practice on it, diving on an artificial turfus, on a artificial. Did I just say turfus is a word? I absolutely just did.
You said turfus.
That's what we're going to call a turf surface. It's now a turfus. And so if you're on the turfus and you slide, maybe it's just because I'm older now, but it just looks like it hurts. Even if you know how to do it, it just hurts. Like it has to, right? It has to. It does, though, allow for one of the funniest things that I get to see all year long, which it only happens a few times a year, but every time it happens, I get so happy. It's when It's just started kind of raining a little bit. The fields are getting slick, and Tennessee's playing a team that doesn't normally play on the artificial surface. If you think about physics and stuff, you can see where this is going. They will slide comically far beyond the base. Because normally you start your slide at a certain, you're used to playing on dirt, right? And so if it's raining, you might slide a little later. If it's really dry, a little earlier. But you know more or less where you're sliding. And you calibrate yourself. It's Pavlovian. You do this enough times, you just know how far away you are from the bag and how you need to go for it. And then it starts raining on an artificial surface, and it turns into a slip and slide. And so you'll see guys going, 3 times faster than I could probably ever run, ever, even when I was a, quote, athlete, haha. And they will slide, and they'll be going so fast that either they have to use the bag to slam on the brakes with their hand, or if they can't get the grip right, they're going out toward left field. And it is so funny to me. It's not, I feel bad for guys who get out in those situations because it's like, that's a little unfair. But how are you supposed to go that fast and then do something that feels so unnatural, slide so much earlier? Plus, what happens if you misjudge it and it's not quite as slick as you think? Then you get the scene in Major League where Willie Mays Hayes is sliding into second base and he comes up a little bit short, and then the shortstop tells him to come a little farther, and then he gives him a one-finger salute, and it's really funny. But that to me would be even more humiliating. If the two choices are I slide to the bag and I go past it and I get tagged out, or I slide going into the bag and I come up short, I think I'm taking door number 1. If those are the two choices, both of them a little embarrassing. Number 2 feels like it's like when you're on a golf course and your drive doesn't go, past the junior tee because you hit it so badly that then you're supposed to pull your pants down to your ankles and then take your next shot. Kind of an old golf tradition. If you don't get it to a certain point, that it's a little more embarrassing to come up short, I think, is what I'm saying. If those would be my two choices. So those are things that I think about, and I say this why? Because Tennessee baseball season starts in 8 days. 8 freaking days before Valentine's Day. I love baseball, Daniel. It is, in my opinion, soccer's the only sport in the world that even comes close to me for how much I love baseball, and then basketball is probably 3rd, and then probably football probably 4th.
Baseball's number 1 for me, always.
And I love it. And I used to play it year round. Come from a family of baseball / softball players. My great uncle is one of maybe the worst player who's in the Hall of Fame, but he's still in the Hall of Fame. And we're just a baseball family, right? And so I love it, but I hated playing it in cold weather. It never was comfortable because you're just standing a lot. In baseball, unless you're catching or you're pitching, you're standing around a lot. Like, you can move around a little bit, hey, get into position, yada, yada, go occasionally chase a ball. But you're just standing a lot of the times, and especially if you're playing like in left field, and there'll be whole innings where you're just out there like, will somebody please hit the ball so I can move? I am frozen out here. And it does not feel like baseball weather unless it's like the World Series. If it's the World Series and it's November or, late October, it's cold, you're up in the Northeast somewhere, Midwest, fair enough. All right, that is acceptable cold baseball weather. And maybe you could say like April or May in Chicago, okay, you're going to have some days that aren't comfortable. But February baseball, and it's the way the college baseball calendar is structured, because basically the College World Series happens, in June, and it's like a week or so after that, it turns into conference media days for football. That's how the calendar works, basically. So if you were to start the season later, you would have a significant portion of the season where it would be technically in the summer and students wouldn't be there. And so you can't do it that way. So then what do? Do you do what they do like in Germany with soccer? You play part of it in the fall, take a winter break, then get back at it? I don't know, because that seems to throw off the competitive balance of a season. Because if a pitcher or one of your most important players or one of your best hitters gets hurt, and you hate to say this, but if there's, a month left in the season and this is a 2-month injury, that should end the season. In a competitive world, that would end the season. But then, wait, what if there's a 6-week or 2-month break in the season? Is it even the same season at that point? I would say it's not. At that point, it's a new season almost. So that doesn't feel competitively right. There's no way, or you could maybe start a little bit later and cram more games into a more fine. So instead of playing 3 games a week or 4 games a week, you're playing maybe 6 games a week. But if you do that, that's a lot of time that, it's supposed to be about academics. It really isn't, but it's supposed to be. So at that point, you're playing that many, even if you go, okay, home for a week, away for a week, whatever it is. At that point, you're missing a lot of class, even more than you normally do. And so then are you doing online classes? And then is that really the college experience? I would say no. Not in the classic way we think of college anyway. I know we live in a modern world where human beings can go entire months without seeing another human being, let alone coming in contact with one. They're like, ew, will you deliver my food to my porch? I don't even want to see you. Just deliver this food to my porch. And you know what? I'm going to order stuff, and I want you to bring it to me and leave it on my porch, and don't you try to even talk to me. This is the world we live in now. Eventually, we're just going to be glued to screens, not talking to each other. That's how this goes. That's how this ends. That's the end stage of this. But if you do that, then you've thrown off what we think of as a college experience, and you're running the risk probably of more arm injuries because that's more games in a week and so then you need rosters that are bigger. There's no way that I think you do this and it's not bad. I think the way they do it now is probably the least bad, because it's, hey, for the first month of the season, you're not going to be comfortable. And if you are a team that plays in the Midwest or the Northeast, you will be you won't play a home game for 2 months, because you will be spending every weekend, like, this is as far north as you'll be. You'll go down to California, Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, and you'll play a lot of your games then. And then you're not getting a lot of money because you're playing a lot of road games. You're not getting home gate and all these things. So basically, it's a mess. And there are days like this where I think that college baseball is going to be starting in 8 days. 8 days. Where, first off, that's really exciting for me. I love it, but I also, because I'll be in the press box, I'm fine. But I think of the guys who were out there. And, last year at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, they were in the middle of the renovation, right? And so we were they carved out an area down the first base line toward the top of the stands there. So we were outdoors. Now, we couldn't get rained on because there was an overhang. But you were cold and then you were hot, which is fine. It's fine. It's a seat, and I can see the field, which is all I require. I like a source of caffeine provided for media. Some say food, too. That's fine if there's food, whatever. But I need caffeine. I need a place for power to plug in my tablet and my laptop, charge my phone. And I need access to a bathroom and the internet. That's all I need. You give me those things, I'm fine. That's all media should require. Unless you're covering something that you're there for like 10 hours, you're going to need to eat. They need to provide food or a voucher, whatever. And so, I guess you could bring a sack lunch. But if now we're back in the stadium proper, there's the new press box there. And so I'll be fine. I'll be nice and warm. I even brought my own Keurig over there a couple of years ago. And I was like, guys, we need a Keurig. They were like, we don't have one. This is baseball. It's not in the budget. I was like, okay, well, you know what? If you're not going to do it, I'll bring my own. And so the Keurig at Lindsey Nelson Stadium and the media one is my old one from the house.
I'm sorry, what are you saying? What are you saying? Just for the audience, you brought your own what?
Keurig. The coffee.
Keurig?
The coffee maker.
Keurig.
Keurig. whatever. Is that how you pronounce it?
I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it.
Okay, well, the pod coffee maker.
I'm asking because I was confused.
Because we had switched over to a new brand that I won't say, but you can do more drip coffees with it, which I just think tastes better. We can grind your own beans. It unlocks the bean a little bit more, I think, when you grind it yourself. I fully believe this. There may be no truth to it, but to me it feels true. So it's my truth that it tastes better. And so, you can get whole bean coffee, grind it up, put it in there yourself, and so you don't have to do the loose stuff, and it's less waste. I don't really love single-use plastics. And so basically we had an extra one, and I was like, I'll just bring it. And so that's the one that's at Lindsey Nelson Stadium, is the one that the pod coffee maker, the Keurig, if that's how you say it, I don't know. But I'll be fine. But I feel for the guys out there. I feel for the fans. It's cold, man. It's not fun in that way. It's not fun to just be cold. Some people can't be hot. I can't be cold. I don't like it. But I'll be nice and warm in the press box. I just feel for y'all. And what I'm trying to say is that walking from, like, parking the car out here outside and walking into the studio today, and I got a kind of a notification on my phone about something baseball related or whatever. I was like, this thing starts in 8 days? Like, it's midway through conference basketball season. Life comes at you fast. It really does. Like, this is head on a swivel season. Head on a swivel season, especially when you're, you got about to have 2 kids under the age of 5. You've had plumbing being done at your house all week long. Your kid dropped a grape on the floor last night, so you had to take your dog to the ER to give a shot to throw up and then another shot to stop throwing up. We've had a week, man.
Is he okay?
He seems to be okay. He's fine this morning. Like I think he chucked it up and onward. Although my son did a magic trick. He's 4 years old, and by dropping a single grape on the floor, he made a $400 grape. I mean, you're talking like, do they even have those in Italy? Do they even have a $400 grape in Tuscany? Do they do this? I don't think they do. I don't think they have a single grape.
It's a pretty good magic trick.
Worth that much. I don't think they do. It's pretty good.
I'm glad he didn't make your dog disappear.
It's like, now we see you, Hank, and now we see you in timeout. No more grapes ever. This will be the last grape that you and this dog ever eat. Neither one of you ever is eating another grape in this house. From now on, grapes in this house are going to be like peanuts on an airplane or peanuts at a daycare. Not happening. They're not. We're going to go to a break. We got to come back. We got a lot more to talk about here with the Joey Aguilar situation as the eligibility turns. There's that going on. There's basketball, obviously, to talk about with Tennessee and Kentucky coming up with a big one on Saturday night. I think Emily and I will be there for that. So we got a lot to talk about with that. We got a lot to talk about with other stuff. And if y'all send some stuff in the socials, we'll talk about that too. Whatever you want here in the final 40 minutes of today's 10 at 3. Before that, though, quick break. We'll be right back after Secret Time.
All right, should be good in Secret Time now.
Sorry,
I started a fight with you there.
I think we opened. That's fine. I think we opened Secret Time with me hitting my pen on the microphone, so I apologize for that.
Yes, sorry to our YouTube viewers. I do see a YouTube.
Also, when before we do this, I was recording something in here. Obviously, you were here with Robin. With Robin Woolhoit, the Queen of Knoxville.
Yeah.
And so I was really thirsty when I walked in, so I took like a big sip of my water here, and I forgot, oh, wait, there's bubbles in this today. And so then Robin's talking to me. I'm like, oh, God, am I about to burp at Robin Woolhoit on, like, am I really going to burp right here 2 feet from the Queen of Knoxville? I would feel mortified.
Yeah, you should.
And so I was like, okay, hold it down. So I held it down. I didn't do it. I waited till she left, and then it went Homer Simpson. But before that, it was a struggle, man. It was a struggle. And then now we're fighting over how we pronounce the pod coffee maker.
Okay, there is a Keurig distribution plant in Knoxville. I have had friends who were employed there, and they say Keurig. So I feel like that's a decent
Can
authority.
you, while we're on Secret Time, can you Google the pronunciation of it and see if there's one of these things where you can click it and it plays it? Not that that's a foolproof system.
I will have to look at. I'll have to look at that because I don't have sound from my PC that can go out onto the show where we can hear it. So I will get back to you on that. 5 seconds in Secret
5
Time.
seconds? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to 10 at 3. Wes Rucker coming to you here with Daniel. I'll mispronounce his name intentionally just for fun as we're sitting here talking about how you pronounce the pod coffee maker.
It's French. That's fair.
It is French. It's pardon my French. We're not going to cuss on this show, though. I'll tell you that much. Listen, there's some things we're going to do. This is a family-friendly show. We keep it classy here. Well, not classy, but we'll keep it. We'll watch our mouths. All right, we'll put it that way here on this Thursday, February the 5th, 2026, as the world of eligibility turns. I don't believe, knock on wood, that there's been any updates on the Joey Aguilar situation, although the last time yesterday we told you we'd be back in 23 hours, and I bet we'll have at least one update on that. I do think we have at least one update on that front, and that is that the hearing in Knox County Chancery Court will be not this Friday, but next Friday, 8 days from now, on baseball opening day, as it were, at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So I think there was talk that maybe I would go over there, but that was, I think, when we thought the hearing would be in the morning. Now it's going to be in the afternoon, a little bit close for comfort on the time to the show starting here at 3. So we might have Emily or Elijah over there and do a little take one of their having them take one of those fancy satellite backpacks over there, and we'll talk to them while they're over there if it's out by then. I would imagine a hearing scheduled for 1:30 could end. Those things can be 30 seconds and they can take a lot longer. We'll see, but we will have more information on that then. By the way, and I hate that it's on a Friday, because if there is something that goes off at, like, let's say 4:02. Which there for a while, this show had a good week of things dropping it between the hours of 4:01 Eastern and 4:59 Eastern. So we would walk out of here and then something would be happening. And it happened like 3 times in a week. It was mad. But of course, we can go in here live for an emergency stream, but it's not when people are programmed all the time to go in there and know, hey, it's 10 at 3 time. That's why I wanted that to be the name. You know, the network and the time. Boom, boom, boom. You got it right there. Branding 101. You don't see, kids don't even need to go to college. Just listen and watch this program, and we'll give you some of this life advice that you need. That's why the name is what it is. You know where to go, and you know when to go there. And then they put my name on there, which whatever. I didn't care about that. I said I don't need that, but they wanted it. So that's why the name is the name. And so if something goes off at, let's say, 4:10 there, then it's not like we're 23 hours away. It's like we're 71 hours away, which would be really frustrating. Now, we would, if it were big news, we would come in here and we would do that, obviously, and no matter what time it was. And I've talked about for the future, we'll see how long the show stays an hour. Could I think the future maybe be a little bit longer? And then, not to speak out of turn, but I've said this before, but then also have like a 10 at 3 after dark, or like once a week, where it's like we come in here and you can talk about anything but sports, and it's 10 at 3 after dark. Or I thought it'd be funny if it were one day a week at 10 p.m. and it was 10 at 3 at 10, because that is so stupid that I kind of like it. There's levels of stupidity. There's regular, like, it's a little stupid, but it's okay. Then it's like, okay, this is cringy. Then there's a level beyond that, I think, personal opinion, that you go, that's so stupid, I love it. So, 10 at 3 at 10 could work. But so with that, though, I still, and there have been some questions asked in the past day, understandably. people would say to responses to things I said on the show, or I tried to be as crystal clear as I could, and I'll still do that. I'll try to be even more clear than I was yesterday. I do not blame Joey Aguilar, Diego Pavia, Charles Bediaco, any of these guys. I do not blame any of them for trying. And I do not think it's ethically, morally wrong in any way to try. And in each of those cases, I can see legitimate, legal, ethical grounds in their favor. And I will not freak out or suggest anyone else freak out if this goes the way I think it goes and it becomes a free-for-all. I won't sit here and say it's the worst thing that's ever happened, or it's that these are bad guys for trying this, or, they're just trying to find a loophole here. And the one argument that I really, really don't like, and I mentioned this a little bit yesterday, is people say, just go get a job, man. If you're not going to be a pro, just go get a job. My response to that would be, being a Division I, a high-profile Division I athlete these days, that's a job. Not just a job, a very, very well-paying job. A risky job physically, for sure. Mentally stressful as all get out. But you are financially compensated in a huge way. So, yeah, you would tell your own kid to do this. You absolutely would. And I'm not going to call you a bad parent if you don't, but I'd question it. You can go make all this money for 1 year of work, not even that, probably less than a year a little bit, for that much money? Yes, son. Yes, daughter. Go do that. Yes, go do that. But I still think that the argument here, it gets a little sticky when you start discussing what's good for the masses. What is the best thing for the most people? Which, it's not a foolproof way to go. You can't make every single situation, every single law, every single rule, what is the most good for the most people. Because occasionally, something that is ethically or morally right, a lot of people won't necessarily like it, but I'm not saying might makes right there. Might makes right is not the only law of our jungle. It's just not. But generally speaking, I think when you think of what is a republic, what is a democracy, what is the government of the people, by the people, for the people, it is, regardless of which side of this you're on, and I'm not going to tell you which one I'm on because it don't matter right now. What I'm saying is, generally speaking, what is the most good for the most people is at least something that belongs in the discussion every time. Even if you say, yeah, this might be the most good for the most people, but it's not necessarily, listen, there's more to it than that. That's fine. But I think that has to be brought in every discussion. So what you're talking about now would it be unfair to a Diego Pavia, to a Joey Aguilar, to say, listen, you were born a year or two later, you didn't get access to 4 years of NCAA stuff, knowing what was on the table financially at the time, and you're close enough to this age deadline here where, okay, this is close enough. We'll let you go in here and make your money and do this. Is it unfair if you say they can't do that? Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe not. Then you go on to the other side. You go on to the other side and you say, what does this ruling mean going forward? And judges and lawyers, I would dare say every judge out there and nearly pretty much every lawyer, let's just call that what it is. They know more about the law than I do. And that's the weird thing about being a journalist sometimes is you have to make yourself as close as you can be to an expert, but in so many different things that you're consistently dealing with areas where you're a little familiar, but you're dealing with people who know more. And so you kind of couch things, you make sure that everybody gets a say in this because you're reporting it. And it doesn't mean that you have to defer to them. I mean, if someone tells you that grass is red, you can be like, well, I have eyes. But so you're dealing with things that you know, but you don't know as well as they do. So I'm not saying anything about the law here that I don't think judges and lawyers know. Maybe some other people don't think about it this way, but the people who are making the decisions do. But just to share this forward, when you make a rule or make a law, you can't just think about, okay, does this solve things that went wrong before? You also have to think about what problems could this create? Like if I do this, it might make a situation whole that was not whole beforehand, right? It might resolve a conflict that happened. But what's coming next? If I do this, if I do X, what's Y? If I do A, what's B? And if I do A, what's J? What's L? What's Z? What happens after I do this? What could happen after I do this? You don't have a crystal ball, but you can look at history and say, okay, game theory this, game plan this. This is what happens and you do this. And when you do that, it's hard for me to see any scenario where the end result of JUCO players being eligible, any scenario that I think of in my mind that goes down that path ends with 18 to 21-year-olds not having as many opportunities to play college sports or not having the ability to play college sports at the level they should by rights be playing at. And then you've also got situations where you will have guys who are starting their careers at institutions like at the JUCO level where, again, my mother was a junior college dean for years. I will not besmirch a junior college degree. I won't do it. It's college like anything else is college. But sometimes you're there because you can't get into the place you eventually want to get to. And so you're starting your career academically at a place where, it's not beneath you, but you could be challenging yourself more. And so I don't want this to be a situation where just because you think it's right for now, for a couple more 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds to get a season of college, one more season of college sports, that opens the door, in theory, to a world. I sound like the movie trailer guy, in a world where, but it opens up a situation where you are having a world where now college sports will be dominated by people that age because they're physically a year older, physically more mature, sometimes mentally more mature. And look at what happened in college sports this season. The oldest team out there won the national title. And it did so at a place that going into the season was the losingest program in the history of major college football. So we don't need to sit here and say, well, what could happen? Look at what already did happen. Look at what happened. And if it hadn't been for the quarterback of that team who won the Heisman Trophy, you know who probably would have won it? The quarterback at Vanderbilt who had to sue to change the rules temporarily to be able to still be playing college football. And those were the top two to the top three for the Heisman right there. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's wrong, but it doesn't feel right. Now, I'm not someone who says we're doing this because we've always done it this way. Historically, not a great argument. There's a lot of things that we've always done as people that we shouldn't do, like, go to war, kill each other, hurt each other. We shouldn't be doing that. It happens, right? It's so you could say, well, we've always done this. Well, it doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. And that's obviously an extreme example. But what I'm saying here is, in any way, shape, or form, saying we've done this because we've always done it, not a great argument. But you can, from the flip side, look at this and say, like I did say yesterday, if you were Goodwill Hunting this on a board and you're doing this big, long formula, and if the final solution here on the end of the board, if the end product says you're going to have 24 and 25-year-olds playing college football every single year, I think we've gone wrong somewhere. Something has gone wrong there. If that's the end result, then that can't be right. It can't be. That's not. There are exceptions to every rule, but if this goes this way, in some ways this will start becoming the rule. And so you will have guys just transferring up one level at a time, starting at JUCO, and then by the end of their careers, they're a 24 or 25-year-old competing against an 18-year-old out there on the field. And while this is in some ways professional sports now, it still isn't. And if we're going to talk about, in fairness, who should be competing against who, that's a conversation we need to be having. And I think what I'm afraid here is what legally will be the correct thing to do is actually the wrong thing for college football or college sports. That's a concern that I have. I think by being fair to some people in this situation, you would be making things unfair going forward for a lot more people. And that's why I'm really glad I'm not a judge. I never wanted to be a lawyer. I don't want to make this decision. I have ideas. I talked about them yesterday. I got a lot of ideas. I think some of them are pretty decent. I think they're pretty decent. I'm also an idiot, so they might be bad. But if we can't, like, at some point, we got to put up some gutter guards in this bowling alley. Like, right now, it's not even, it's like if you went into a bowling alley, the middle of it, and you took away not just the guards for not just the gutters for yours, but for every single, all 50 lanes. You throw the ball out there, God knows where it's going to go. That's what's happening right now. You put the ball down there, and also, by the way, we've got shocks and suspensions in here, so it's going to be going up and down and back and forth. So it might come back at your own feet. We are throwing this out there and seeing what happens. That's what this needs to be. We need to shrink this a little bit. And we got to figure out, okay, I'm sorry that this isn't great for you right now, but this is how it's got to be. We'll have exceptions, but these are the rules. These are vaguely the rules. And I hope that these cases do that, and I hope that these cases don't eventually, turn into an issue where we've not solved anything, which happens too often in life. So let's get this sorted. Let's figure out who can play college ball and who can't. We all have ideas, but you know what? Just give us the ideas. I'm tired of this menu is too big. I'm tired of looking at it. Just bring me food. Just bring me food. I don't care. I'm allergic to this and this, so don't bring that. But anything else, bring it on. Put it on the plate. Let's eat again. Let's do that. Let's do that. Before we do that, though, we're going to step away for just a second, and we're going to be right back after a little bit of secret time right here on 10 at 3.
All right, during the secret time, I'm going to hop out of my chair real quick and adjust your tight shot camera. It's a little off here.
I think my theory on this is you've learned that I'm pronouncing the name of the coffee correctly, and this gets you out of having to admit that publicly. That's my narrative.
No,
That's my narrative.
Well, we will need to put that narrative to journalistic rigor here, sir, because even though I can't play sound off my
The scientific method.
I do have a visual ready to show our audience here. I'm going to throw up our PC, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but I'm just going to watch this mouth move. Keurig. Now, the U I question, because that makes it sound like Keurig.
Keurig?
I say Keurig.
Is it Keurig? Ugh.
How were you saying it before?
Keurig.
Keurig. So we've solved with that KY. It has the Keurig. Anyways.
But the KY, is also the abbreviation for Kentucky. And it's pronounced Kentucky. I'm grasping at straws here.
I was just going to sit back and let you try to explain that one.
It was a loss. It's a lost cause. Now, at this point, my best argument becomes, okay, I'm wrong, but you're wrong too. So my best case, my best argument now is okay, my boat, it's sinking. It's got water. It's going down.
It's got coffee.
It's weighed down with coffee. Someone's blown a hole in it. We're a little bit below the water line. We're going down. I just need to sink your boat too. I need to get a couple cannon shots off. Welcome back to 10 at 3. Wes Rucker here with Daniel today as we are discussing the proper pronunciation of things and having discussions where at this point, like any good toddler, my argument has now devolved from, okay, we've established that I'm wrong. So now I just need you to be wrong too. I need there to be a door number 3 to where we're both wrong. And then, like, if I can't, they say rising tides lift all boats. In this case, my boat is sinking, and I want yours to sink too. I want to get off, I want to get off the final shot right. Like I'm going down. But I've still got, a little bit of cannon left. I got a couple cannonballs left. I got a little bit of, I got some chain shot. I got a little bit of stuff that I can throw at you. I need to hit you with everything I've got. And then by the end of it, we're all on the bottom of the ocean.
It's not a competition.
I know it's not, but I can't listen.
You're the host. I follow you.
Oh, so by that you mean agree that my pronunciations are correct even if they're wrong. Is that what that means?
From 3 to 4 on 10 plus, your pronunciation is correct. The other 23 hours, I'm right.
It's correct. It's 10. It's WBR plus, not minus. All right. It's plus, not minus.
That's
get
right.
it. Get it straight. Get it right. Speaking of get right, the Tennessee basketball team is getting some things right, and the Vols have a big one coming up Saturday night in Lexington on the frozen blue tundra of Rupp Arena. It's big game because these were teams that were, they were supposed to be SEC title contenders, and they both are, but neither one is happening. It's not been a straight line for either one of them. Both have kind of meandered a little bit. Both have had some highs and some lows. Kentucky's had some real lows, but a couple of big highs too, including coming to Knoxville in a place where Tennessee almost never loses, getting down by 16 points, coming back and winning. That's an accomplishment. Now that is, you got to tip your cap on that. And it's easy to say Tennessee did things wrong because it did. It did. You can't lose that big of a lead in that short a time and only give credit to the opponent. Like, you have to own some of that yourself. You've aided that process. And so even though Kentucky's had a penchant for doing this a couple of the times this season, I would argue that probably Tennessee's the best team that's happened against. But that night, things for Tennessee, or that afternoon, I should say, that was a nooner. Things have changed a little bit for Tennessee in a good way since then. Had some big wins, had some close wins, had some ones where they had to fight and claw, like against Auburn, against Daniel's Georgia Bulldogs, against A&M. A&M was before that, but certainly Alabama. They've gone and had some nip and tuck near run things, but they've played well, played better. And then against Ole Miss, a team they should be beating, they took care of business, and down the stretch, still ended with one of the funniest ejections I've seen. Not the top, but probably in the top 5. The jog back to the team after was the cherry on top there from Ole Miss coach Chris Beard. But Tennessee's gotten the thing going now. A few wins in a row, not far behind. I think one game back in the loss column of the SEC standings now, and they're playing better. Now, Kentucky has won 7 of its past 8. Kentucky, I believe, has won 11 of its past 14. Kentucky has gone from a team that this is interesting because we never know exactly with the NIL stuff. We never know exactly what some of these salary things are. But there have been reports that Kentucky's roster is the most expensive in college basketball, between $20 and $22 million that they've spent on that roster. That's the report anyway. And we know that they're putting more percentage of rev share toward men's basketball players than anybody else in the league is, which makes sense because Kentucky would be the place that did that for that sport. That's just good business when you're at UK, frankly. And so that team was a bit of a it was a dirty diaper early in the year. It was bad. It's not good. It's not good. It was a mulch fire. A mulch fire in a tank top. It was not good. Not good. And then a couple guys got hurt. And it looked like things were spiraling for Mark Pope. People calling for his job. Some of them still are because, it's UK being UK. If you ain't first, you're last. And so if in that situation, losing a couple of big-time players, shortening the rotation, they've actually started playing better basketball. And they've gone from being a team. I was listening to my friends at the Field of 68 last night saying that Kentucky's kind of gone from like a team that because of the roster price tag you wanted to hate to a team that it was, good, some good schadenfreude when they were losing to a team that now you're like, oh, they're kind of like underdogs. Now they've bounced back. I'm like, no, I don't know if I'd say that. They're still got some dudes. I don't know if that's a Final Four roster, but it's as presently constructed. But it's a good team that could get hot, and it's second weekend team for sure of the tournament, unless there's an upset or something. So, and that team is playing better. That team is getting confident, and that team came to Knoxville and won, which not a lot of people do. Tennessee knows that too. A couple years now in a row, Tennessee's lost at home to UK and to nobody else. And so some frustration there. And Rick Barnes has said, and I think we'll probably have video of this tomorrow for the show, that if Tennessee's not going to play for 40 minutes, he basically said, don't get on the bus. He's like, if you're not ready to go play at least 40 minutes, more if it's overtime, against that team, a loss is so automatic that don't even bother going. Don't bother going. Because you're able to show not just the game where they did it to you, which you ought to remember because it wasn't that long ago. They've done it to others too. And so the motivation that comes with that, I would imagine if you're Tennessee, you're ready to go for this one. You're locked in. You're focused. Now it's never that simple, because if showing up wanting to win was the only thing it took to win, nobody would ever lose, for the most part, unless you're intentionally trying to lose because you're point shaving or you've committed some sort of a gambling infraction. You owe money to a bookie, so you're throwing it. You're showing up to win. But it's great to say that. Then the game starts, and Rupp Arena's going crazy. It's giving UK a big lift. It's giving you problems. It's making things hard for you. We've seen Tennessee overcome that. We've seen Tennessee go up there and win some games. But this will be a test in terms of the noise, in terms of dealing with the chaos, in terms of dealing with, let's be honest, what's usually a pretty favorable home whistle, you could say, for UK in that building. And, if you've covered games up there, you understand that you don't justify it, but with the noise and things get going in there, you just see how a ref would you hear the roar of that crowd, you kind of like hearing it. You don't want to get booed either. So, hey, if I'm not sure about that call, yep, that's a foul on the other team. It's not right. It shouldn't happen. But sometimes, hey, you don't want to get punched in the face, I guess. So you make a call the way you do. But when you look at the things that Tennessee has had trouble with, you look at the turnovers. That's probably the first 5 things on the list. And then beyond that, the inconsistent free throw shooting. And those things are things that typically happen more when you're on the road. Usually commit more turnovers on the road. Usually miss a few more free throws on the road. Pressure gets to you, noise gets to you, the moment gets to you. And Tennessee's been playing better, but going there and winning this game, I wonder sometimes about how important a road win is. Just, you got to follow me on this for a second. When you play in the NCAA tournament, when you play in the postseason, that's not a home game. It's also not a road game. It is a neutral floor game. Now, there may be more fans of this one or that one, depending on where you're playing the game. Like if you're playing Purdue in Detroit with a Final Four berth on the line, that's going to be almost a road game. Now, if that game were being played in Nashville, or that game were being played Chattanooga, Atlanta, that's going to be more of a home game for Tennessee a little bit, right? So that's how that goes. But there are things specific to road games that don't necessarily, they're not apples to apples with the neutral. They might be like a Macintosh apple and a Granny Smith apple or something. Like they're one's a little more sour, they're a little different. They're both apples. So going to Rupp and thriving in that environment, that's a different kind of thing than on a neutral floor. Both teams are trying to bring their own energy and make their section of the crowd become the louder section of the crowd. At home, you try to use what you have to fuel you and give you a boost, maybe get on the refs, get them to make some calls in your favor, make some noise, create some havoc, do that. On the road, you're playing out of spite. On the road, you're playing out of pure spite. It is, I want these 5 people I'm playing, the 12 people on their bench, and these 20,000 people in the stands, I want them to be miserable. I want them to hate me. I want them to lose. I want them to go home angry. It's spite. And that doesn't necessarily fuel you, say, in the tournament. That's different. So I've seen teams that aren't great in true road games be pretty good on a neutral floor. So it's not, road wins mean more on your resume because they should, because you got to be able to win away from your home. But being able to win away from your home and being able to win in a pure road game are different things. Going to Rupp and doing that, hey, it's not something that no matter how this goes this weekend, I don't think I'm going to say this changes anything about what I think this team would do in the postseason necessarily. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, but I just don't think – I think people make a little bit too much of that argument sometimes. It's – even if you go there and win, okay, you can do that, but challenge is a little different in a neutral situation in the postseason. Now, if you play UK in the postseason, it's almost always a road game because they're going to bring more people than you are because they care more than you. That's their spring break every year. That's what they do. That's their culture. That's what they do. It's why we're one of the best fan bases in sports is UK basketball fans. But it's obviously a big game for Tennessee. We'll talk much more about it tomorrow because there's a lot to preview with that. College softball starts imminently. College baseball starts for Tennessee in 8 days. The Lady Vols got a huge game at South Carolina, too. We're not going to ignore that. There's a lot going on this weekend and a lot going on the next 2 weeks. So 1 hour tomorrow is not enough time to discuss it. But by gosh, we're going to try, and we're going to see who's in here with us. We're going to have a good time. Thank you to Daniel for doing the show.
Anytime. I love being here.
And even more importantly than that, thank you to all the people out there watching and listening who also maybe don't know how to spell or pronounce foreign coffee words. We'll see y'all in 23 hours.